you are eating something right now, or you were recently, a meal, a snack, something cooked, something processed, something wrapped in plastic and pulled from a shelf that didn't exist 100 years ago, and none of it, not a single bite, resembles what your body was actually built to consume. Because for the vast majority of human history, there was no fire, no heat, no cooking, and what your ancestors ate before they discovered flame would shock you so deeply that you might never look at your plate the same way again. Go back 2.5 million years. Not to ancient Rome, not to the stone temples of Egypt, 2.5 million years. That is how long ago the first members of your genus, Homo, walked the earth. And for most of that time, fire did not exist as a tool. Your ancestor was a raw food animal, and what that animal ate was nothing like what you have been told. The story you have probably heard goes something like this. Early humans were hunters. They chased down mammoths and bison across open plains, spears in hand, living on the meat of great beasts. It is a compelling image. It is also mostly wrong. Before fire, your ancestors ate raw meat, but not in the way you are imagining. Not slabs of steak torn from a carcass by powerful jaws. Your early ancestors had small mouths, weak bite force, and flat molars poorly suited for ripping through thick muscle. They scavenged. They arrived at kill sites after the apex predators had finished, and they used stone tools to crack bones and access the marrow inside. Bone marrow is extraordinarily calorie dense and rich in fat. It is exactly what a brain trying to grow needs, and your brain was growing fast. Look at the fossil record and you see something remarkable. Starting around 2.5 million years ago, hominin brain size begins to increase steadily. This is also precisely when stone tool use becomes widespread and when evidence of bone processing first appears. These things are not coincidences, they are connected. The brain is an expensive organ. It demands enormous caloric investment. And the calories that funded that growth came in significant part from the marrow and brain tissue of other animals, accessed through tools before fire ever entered the equation. But meat and marrow were not the whole picture. Not even close. Your ancestors were opportunistic omnivores in the truest sense. Plants, roots, tubers, fruits, nuts, seeds, insects, eggs, and grubs formed the bulk of what they actually consumed day to day. Researchers analyzing microscopic plant residues trapped in the dental calculus of ancient hominin teeth found something remarkable. Underground storage organs, what we would now call tubers and roots, appeared to be a dietary staple across multiple hominin species going back at least 3.4 million years. Think about what that means. Before fire, before cooking, before any of the processing you associate with food, your ancestors were digging into the ground and eating raw tubers, starchy, fibrous, difficult to chew, and borderline indigestible compared to what a cooked version would offer, but they ate them anyway because the calories were there, buried just below the surface of the earth, waiting. Here's something your body still knows even if your mind has forgotten it. Your digestive system carries the legacy of those millions of years of raw food eating. Your saliva contains an enzyme called amylase, and you produce far more of it than any other primate. Amylase breaks down starch, and the number of copies of the amylase gene in your genome is directly correlated with how starchy your ancestral diet was. You were built at the molecular level to process underground plant starch. That is not a modern adaptation. That is ancient engineering, but starch alone cannot explain the brain. That is the puzzle that keeps evolutionary biologists up at night. The brain you are using right now to process this information is roughly 3 times larger than it should be for a primate of your body size. It runs on glucose, but it also demands omega-3 fatty acids in enormous quantities to build and maintain its structure. Where did those fats come from before cooking, before agriculture, before fish oil supplements in orange plastic bottles? The answer is water, not as a metaphor, literally water. And that is the part of the story most people never hear.